Analysts at Access Bank expect bullish undertones as the market shifts focus to the Treasury bills auction today, where 650 billion is on offer across 3 standard tenors. They also expect system liquidity to remain robust on the back of the OMO maturity on Tuesday. Kolawole Komolafe, the Treasury Team Lead at Access Bank, joins me now to break down the market sentiment. Thank you so much for your time, Kolawole. And let's get a look at what we're seeing play out this midweek and what's shaping sentiments in the market before we get into the auction.
Okay, thank you, Kenneth. So you mentioned market liquidity. It's quite high right now. Yesterday, it opened at over 3 trillion, and you mentioned that there was a 1.4 trillion OMO maturity on Tuesday. This is notwithstanding the 273 billion naira OMO auction settlements, because there was an OMO auction that was announced yesterday, where the CBN sold 273 billion naira across two maturities short term. So system liquidity is very elevated now, and by next week on 11th, we expect another 1 trillion to mature. So I'll also touch about the fixed income markets. There's a 6 billion naira NTB offer by the DMO today across the standard maturities, the 91, 182, and the 364-day paper. We expect to see where that would close. We're expecting the results sometime around 6 p.m. today, so we'll see where that would close.
But how do you think sentiments would differ from previous auctions? Is it going to be more of the same or just what you say?
It's more of the same. So if you see for the 91 and the 182-day paper, it closed just above 15%, that's 15.3 and 15.5, while for the 1-year paper, it closed at just above 16%. So we think that it will close around that handle. Just maybe if there will be a slight reduction, we're looking at, say, 15.8 to say 16% for the 1-year NTB. For the 91 and 182 should pretty much remain the same.
All right, but let's get into the FX market and what's shaping sentiment there. I see that you say that the market will remain demand-driven in the short term, and I see that FPI participation is weighing as well. Yeah. Speak to us about what's playing out.
So October was a good year. To close October, that was last week. It was a good month. I beg your pardon. It touched a year-to-date low of 14.15 last week, as October 31st. But coming into this week, we've seen depreciation across the benchmark rates from say 9 naira to 15 naira, depending on which benchmark you're looking at. Either it's in NAFEX, the NFM VWAP, or the CBN closing rates. Largely because coming into this week, supply has waned from FPIs. We've seen it dry up, so the supply is largely from local participants so far. Market opened today at with wide bid ask spread. You're looking at from 14.32 to 14.45, 46, 47. So the wide bid ask spread is quite wide because suppliers are sort of thinned out.
Yeah, but let's look at the Treasury market tone now and what we can anticipate down the line for this going into next week.
Going into next week. So it depends on, I've mentioned where we expect this top rate to close. Yeah. We'll still continue to see investors largely skewed to the 1-year NTB, which is where demand typically, we tend to see more activity. We also expect to see activity on the OMO paper. For yesterday, we saw interest on the January 2026, that's January, February, April, and June. It was offered between 22% to as low as 18%. But we think that sentiment will continue. OMO bills, for those that can invest, are heavily interested in OMO bills, while for retail investors, it's a 1-year NTB at those handles. Yeah,
but looking at the bond market, would you say what's happening now is more or less investors consolidating and waiting for a good entry point, looking at the current levels that we're seeing yields?
Yeah, so for this week, it's been quiet in the bond market, really, because a lot of activity has been in the bill space. I mentioned there was an OMO auction on Friday. There was another one yesterday. There's an NTB auction today. So it's like attention has been shifted to the bills market. So, but for the NTB, for the bonds market, it's been rather quiet, and we expect that those sentiments will continue this week, even as we see the as we expect the result of the NTB auction today.
As we wrap up the conversation, I just want to get your assessment of the government's debt strategy. We're seeing the government coming to seeking approval for some more wanting to more or less finance budget deficit, and also another $500 million coming from the World Bank there for agriculture. Your take on how we're going about our debt strategy?
For debt strategy, I would say the strategy is to look at both local borrowings and foreign borrowings. There is a $2.25 billion issuance today that opened today, Eurobonds, where it does with a view to the country has a maturity, 1.12 billion maturity this month. So the 2.25 is just a refinancing of that 1.2, and then the excess would then be used to supplement the budget deficit. So the government is looking at both the foreign borrowings through Eurobonds, and you also mentioned the 1.5 trillion approval being sought by the House, by the President from the House. So looking at both ends to see how the deficit of the budget can be financed.
One word for how you see the markets ending the week.
FX market. One word. More of same. More of the same.
More of the same. All right. Thank you so much. Kolawole says more of the same. Kolawole Komolafe, the Treasury Team Lead at Access Bank.